Okay, so Tishtele, everyone, and as usual, Geshe and I are going to recite. First, we're going to the homage and praise to the Buddha Shakyamuni, and then we're going to recite some mantra to protect from this pandemic disease. And when you pray and recite, please send the prayer. People like who suffering from this pandemic disease. Thank you.
O Demba Jamden de Yaba
Rajamba Yandaba Dobe Sanje Reba Don Shasa Demba Dewa Jide Chemba Chewa Ndavya Kaloi Chewa Lana Meba Lato Menaj Demba Sanje Chonden Pejawa Shaja Tubala Shantel Chedo Shaso Joy
Demba Jamden de
Jaba Rajamba Yandava Tobe Sanje Riba Don Shasa Dem Dewa Sheba Jide Chemba Sheba Ndavya Kalo Jam Lana Meba Lado Mana Je Demba Sanje Chonden Pejawa Shaja Tubala Shantel Chedo Shaso Joy
Demba Jamden de Yaba
Rajamba Yandava Tobe Sanje Riba Don Shasa Demba Dewa Sheba Jide Chemba Cheba Ndavya Kalo Jawa Lana Meba Lado Mena Je Demba Sanje Chonden Pejawa Shaja Tobala Shantel Chedo Shaso Joy
Okay, I will check over here the video. Let's try. However, now everybody can see. Okay, good. Sorry about that.
O Gongje Gongni Zo Che Dong Ze Sa
Sanju
Shen
Andolai
Gongba
Komba
De
Debo
Bo Ni
Ngano jide andana choje so teze keba chela shanzen tenjo tembo
nanda
konga
konga
chodo zezo wa yeje chanzo sejo nombo na chaban jide asona nomewa Nyambo chonye chela shanzen Tencho tembo chume dambe sha Sendo andawa chela shanzen Dada jenda soba sama chia Nyame chinche chela shanzen Nyambo tuje chete ba Kamche chembe temba bo Seno yende janto chia, teje jela shanza, tabian de cha che wajo, gebe nge son de jochi, chido de don chen joi pa, sheje jela shanza, chone chobe la yo de, la wa da la rodoni, Shingo Dombo Yende Gende La Yo Shanzal Sanje Zola Shanzal Shobo Chila Shanzal Gende Chila Shanzal Sumla Tado Kishanzal Shasha Gibai Tamjela Shinda Gunja Chonyaja Leda Baya Nagoza Choda Deve Shasalo Diba Chayoy Mashashi Gewa Buzo Sobashi Ranga Sena Yonsanda Dana Sanje Temba Ye Kamarana Mameta Java Samba Java Mala lodo chadawa, deshe chenan dodai dai.
Sanamandaya Tonje
Sewa ye kombo tane sheja chadai de. Gadon adon cheve la trebe. Sibian tolen dovai sho. Okay, so now we're going to recite praise. First, we're going to recite praise to the Lama Tsongkhapa, and then we're going to recite the Buddha Shakyamuni's mantra, Medicine Buddha's mantra, and Kirisi mantra, and then the seven limb prayer to the Guru Rinpoche, and then Tara mantra, and then Lochema mantra. Okay.
Hoy mime tebe tejen
Teriya Chamen Chambia Wambo Jambia Yang Kanjen Kimbia Suje Tsongai Pa Losan Drabe Shalai Sowan Dea Mimia Tebia Tejia Teriya Chamen Chambia Wambo Jambia Yang Kanjen Kimbia Suje Tsongai Pa Losan Trabe Shalai Sowan De Mime Tevia Tesia Seria Sia Trame Chembia Wambon Jambia Kanjian Kibia Tsuja Tsongai Pa Losan Trabe Shalai Sowan De
Tunge tuje yaje
Rendo Jia Shenjia Moto Dojo Bijoi Ba Sejo Lombo Tabo Jabia Goi Shajia Jabo Jelai Shanti Loi
Munya munya
Ma Munya Sogai Omo Munya Munya Maha Munya Sogai Om Munya Munya Ma Munya Sogai
Jia Gonlai Nyongbia
Chomdia
Chomdia
Dia
Tenzo
Tenzo Tibi
Tibi
Ngendria
Ngendria
Dungase
Tusu
Tusu Nese
Nese
Sanje
Sanje
Menjola
Mendra
Mendra Yaye
Yaye
Gala Shante Lo
Shanzelo Teada Ama Bekanje
Beganje Beganje
Bekanje
Ma
Mahadevanje
Beganje
Bekanje
Beganje
Randa
Randa Samanga
Samangate
De
Soha
Soha
Deada
Deada Amma
Ama
Beganje
Bekanje
Beganje
Bekanje
Ma
Mahadevanje
Beganje
Bekanje
Beganje
Randa
Randa Samanga
Samangate
De Soha
Deada
Deada Amma
Ama
Beganje
Bekanje
Beganje Ma
Mahadevanje
Beganje
Bekanje
Beganje
Randa
Randa Samanga
Samangate
De
So
Soha
Chenje Magi Gando Ga
Parai
Doso
Soso Jeje
Chijo
Volai
Tuje
Tuje Chenje
Chenje
Androlai
Androlai
Jere
Jere Zela
Zela Shante
Loi
Loi
Omai Mani
Beme
Beme
Ho Omo
Omai
Mani
Mani
Beme
Beme
Ho Omo
Omai
Mani
Mani
Beme
Beme
Ho
Ujaya Jan Ushan
Loi
Ton
Bemo Kesa Tombola Yanzen
Yanzen
Choga
Choga
Nidro
Nidro
Nye
Pema
Pema Jone
Jone Shesara
Shesara
Koda
Koda Kandro
Kando
Mombe
Mombe
Ko
Cheja
Cheja
Jisa
Jisa
Dajoji
Dajoji
Shanje
Shanje
Loja
Loja
Chezo
Chezo So
Guru
Guru
Pema
Pema
Sido
Sido Ho
Amma Amu Benza
Benza Guru
Guru
Pema
Pema
Sido
Sido
Ho Omo
Amma
Aho
Amu
Benza
Benza
Guru Pema
Pema
Sido
Sido
Ho Omo Aho Benza
Amma
Guru Pema Sido Ho
Zedong Ladon Lami Jeben Je Hyuja
Chaja
Pe
Pema
Ladeni
Ladoni
Pomba
Pomba
Kuni
Kone
Dronzema
Tronzema
Droma
Droma
Yumla
Yumla
Chante
Chante Loi
Loyo Aman Tare Titare Ture
Tore Sogai Omo
Aman Tare
Tare
Titare
Tutare
Ture
Tore
Soha
Soga Omo
Omandare
Tare
ditare
Tutare
tore
Tore
soha
Soga
jawai ganja ija jamai
Yai
chondra
Chondra
nomba
Nomba
traba
Trava Le
lishon
Shove
lamo
Amo
gongya
Gongya
drove
Drove
netegi
Netegi
kani
Kone
jenze
Shenze
che
Chela
chanza
Chante
lo
Loi
amai picha te panai
Panai
shawar
Shawari Sawan
Savandara
Zara Pajamanaya
Pajamanaya Soha
Soha
Amoy
Omo
Pujati
Pejati
Panay
Panai
Shawari
Shawari Sawan
Savandara
Zara
Pajamanaya
Pajamanaya
Soha
Soha
Amoy
Omo Pejati
Pujati Panay
Panai
Shawari
Shawari Sawan
Savandara
Zara
Pajamanaya
Pajamanaya
Soha
Soha. Okay, now we will do the dedication.
Hoy Chela Teja
Sawai tabian tiai taso kondo nebia sajosa nedoi ombon tatse shawai to chidon tashi bewan jedoi so. Okay, now we do long life prayer for His Holiness Dalai Lama and also long life prayer for our Master ZaChoeje Rinpoche.
Hoy Gondra Rave Govi Shingon
Shingon
Pendo
Pendo
Dewa
Dewa Malin Jomyane
Tenri
Tere
Zewa
Zewa Tende
Tenze
Janto
Janto
Ye Shabe
Shabe
Sunde
Sunde Bad
Bato
Tenje
Tenje Chi
Chie Trame Tube Temban Zumbi
Zumbi Soy
Loson
Losa Jawa
Jawa Nyingye
Yeri
Chilo
Lojo
Dhamma
Dhamma
Dhamje
Damji
Pelai
Pelai
Tadawa
Tadawa
Tumia Pande Lama Sowande.
Okay. Thank you, Geshe. Just everyone again. And last time we talked about how precious our human life. So today I'm going to talk about refuge, that taking refuge. So in Tibetan, we call it like a chamdro. So chamdro, there are two syllables, like chab means, I think chab means refuge, and then dro means like going. So it means like going for refuge. So like chamdro, like which means like somebody, like, that who like who don't know something like to do, and then they rely, go like ask somebody, like rely on somebody. So chamdro is a look like that. So going for refuge to liberate from samsara, or going for refuge to generate enlightenment. So when we take the chamdro, like, it's not just not only for this life. Like when we take the refuge, you have to like kind of take like until like you generate enlightenment. After you generate enlightenment, you don't need to go for refuge. But before you have to like go for refuge. So that's why when we recite the sadhana, Sanje Chitan Tsuji Chuna La Chanchu Pad Doni Chaps, which means I am going to refuge to Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha until I generate enlightenment. Like so, when you take the refuge, you have to take like a promise, from now to until like I generate enlightenment. So like not only just this life, the many other vows, the monks vow, or like, the lepers, there are lots of vow, the uh, we call like pudung koche. Pudung koche means like, that kind of rule for your speech and body activity. All those vows are only for this life. When you take the vow, you just take, the from this moment until I die, this life. So the you don't need to like promise until I generate enlightenment. So, and then this refuge, taking refuge, we call it Nambalanjubi Gotong Chamdro. So, taking refuge is kind of like a door to enter into the Buddhism. Like, like for example, like this refuge is the differentiate, like you are Buddhist or like non-Buddhist, like, that. Refuge is the one like differentiate like between these two. So that's why we call like, the refuge is look like a door to enter into the Buddhism. So if you don't take refuge like non-Buddhist, they take refuge and then kind of like a Buddhist, like, so we don't have like a special like a ritual to become a Buddhist, like, so that person who taking refuge, and then that's a Buddhist. Like if you don't take refuge, that's non-Buddhist. So that's why we call it like a door, like a refuge is door of Buddhism. So for example, like somebody, who is inside the house or outside the house. It's differentiate like with the door, right? If you're inside the door, you're inside the house. If you're not inside the door, then you're out of that house, So it doesn't matter, even though you learn lots of about the Buddhism, if you don't take the refuge, you are not like Buddhist. Like, for example, that in the house, like there are lots of stuff, you know, and all those like exist in the house, but if you are not in the house, even though there are lots of stuff inside the house, but you you can't use all of them because those are inside the house. So that's why this refuge is kind of like door of enter to the Buddhism. There's a few stuff like we call it bodhicitta. Like bodhicitta is the door like to enter into the Mahayana. That when you take the when you generate the bodhicitta, you are like a bodhisattva, Mahayana. So that's the kind of door. And then the refuge, there are two causes. There are two causes of refuge. We call it like these two are, the fear and faith or trust. So fear and faith. Fear and faith is the causes of refuge. Because to go for refuge, when you rely on somebody or like when you going for refuge, you have to have a fear. Like here, like more talking about this fear is fear to the samsara, fear to the suffering, and when you have a fear, the samsara's suffering, and then you want liberate from them, like you want like to run away from the samsara because you fear, like, the where, nobody like wants to live in a fear, like, so everybody wants to escape from that place. So that's why, their fear is kind of like main causes of refuge. If you have a fear of samsara suffering, and then you try to liberate from the samsara. So that's the one, this one causes. And then another one, we call it like a trust or faith, and then after like a fear, the fear, like if you have a fear of samsara suffering, and then you want to run away, you want to liberate from them. So to liberate from the samsara, you have to practice, that the path. So, and then you start like, oh, I don't know how to do, I'm going to ask somebody or I'm going to rely on somebody. So then, and then when you ask somebody to help, you ask somebody that you trust that person, right? If you don't trust the person, you don't rely on them, you don't ask them to help, so the trust always like, when you ask somebody like, that you, if you don't trust them, you don't ask, so that's why this trust and fear are the causes of refuge, and fear help you to go for refuge, like fear, because when you have a fear, you want like liberate from that area, and then you going to ask somebody to help because you don't know how to liberate from the samsara. So that's why you go for refuge, like for refuge. So then a refuge, you're going to find, oh, oh, I trust the Buddha Shakyamuni, I trust his teaching, and I trust this the community. Like, so when you trust somebody, then you go for refuge. That's why this what you call that, this fear and faith, or this fear and trust is causes of refuge. Like for example, like somebody break the law, and then they have fear, like because they may have to go to jail, or like police they give you some. So anyway, like when you have fear, then you're looking for somebody to help, like that can help you. You're looking for somebody that you trust them. So it's a kind of same here also. Going for refuge, these two causes you have to have. So then it's help you like to go for refuge. And so these are two are the causes of refuge. And then, the object of refuge, like what is object of refuge? So there are three, like we call it three jewel, chamne kenchu sum. So three jewel object of refuge. So here, like Chandrakuti, Chandrakuti, there's one textbook is called like a Chamro Dunchupa. Dunchupa means like a 70 stanza of refuge. So in that textbook, Chandrakiti says, Sanje Chidu Genduna, Tavan Deva Namji Chaps. Sanje Chidu Genduna, Sanje like means Buddha, Chi means Dhamma, and Gendu means Sangha. And this Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha is Tavan Deva Namji Chaps. These three are the object of refuge, uh, people who wants to liberate from the samsara. There's one quote I try to find. Where is that? Chandrakati. Yeah, in this text, he said the object of necessity to liberate ourselves from samsara, Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. Okay, so the Chandrakati. So this Chandrakati, like there's one sun, I don't know, that's the extra, I'm sorry. So the great Indian master wrote a text, 70 stanza. In this text, he said the object necessary to liberate ourselves from samsara are Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. So these three are the object of refuge. So I think these are really like necessary to know, because many times when you fear like something, you want to, that liberate from the samsara, or something like, that to liberate from the fearful. And then many times like we go like for refuge, like some, for example, in a Tibet society, like many times, like, the people do the fire stuff, like to like ask the local deity, this kind of stuff, that you can ask for temporarily, like you can ask them like the local deity or those stuff for temporarily to liberate from the, the suffering. But for a long time, they are also in the samsara, so they really can do help. Like when you ask somebody to help, you ask somebody who is capable, right? Who are capable. And so those local, the deity or local, like the spirits are, they are also like suffering from the samsara. So that's why they really cannot help you for a long time, like temporarily, like another help. So that's why we need to know like what is really object of refuge. So Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, these three, like in the object of refuge, are the kind of like capable, like that to liberate from the samsara totally. So that's why the Chandrakirti says, that people who wants to liberate from the samsara. So these three are the object of refuge. So then that Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, like what is the Buddha, what's the Dhamma, like what's the Sangha, right? And say Buddha is one who has become liberated from the endless circles of samsara. Historical Buddha Shakyamuni is an example of a person who became liberated, like enlightenment. So the Buddha, like we call like Buddha, Tibetan we call like Temba. So Buddha Shakyamuni is one of them. So when you go for refuge, like when you ask somebody, you have to ask somebody who already liberated from the samsara. So that's why Buddha Shakyamuni is one of them, because he already liberated from the samsara. So he kind of like he have experience like how go through, like he can teach you. So there are we can do the later, like there's a few reason why we going for refuge like these three, and why they have the kind of they are the capable to help. So this is the kind of like a short explanation for Buddha. And then now this is explaining about the Dharma. Dhamma is context to this subject refer to the cessation and path to cessation. Truly, most of do not have the accurate understanding of cessation and path to cessation. However, the noble bodhisattva, through their practice, have come to understand the true the path. So Buddha's teaching and the teaching of the great Indian and Tibetan masters are not considered to the Dhamma is the context. However, is the help, and respectful to have admiration for the teaching of Buddha and the so Dhamma, like Dhamma, Dhamma, we Tibetan call it like Chi, this is the one like really, the Buddha Shakyamuni is one object, like, but Buddha Shakyamuni only like guide us how to do. And this is the really like, we call it like Chapngi. So like, Chap Tembapo and Chapni Chadrupi Dadus. So Buddha Shakyamuni is kind of like is a guide, right? And then actual object of refuge is Dhamma. So Dhamma, we Tibetan call it Chi. Chi means kind of like a change, which means like, that changing inner, like not like outside, like appearance, inner, the practice, through the practice, through the practice, then you have to change like inner, which means like, that we are kind of like full of like, anger, attachment, ignorance. So when you change inner, you have to get rid of them and like, that more generate like love and compassion, all those positive stuff. So that's why that Dhamma, we Tibetan call like chi. Like chi, it comes from to the chi, like which means like change. So this is the actual object of refuge. So here, as the in mention like we call like Godem and Lamdem. Godem means cessation and path to cessation. So path to cessation are not all of them. That. So there are 5 paths. For example, 5 paths. Well, first one is accumulation path, and accumulation path is the first one. From the Mahayana point of view, as soon as you generate bodhicitta, like bodhicitta mind, and then you are the first level of path. That's we call like accumulation path. So this path, we usually more like accumulate, the virtuous deed, or like kind of accumulate merit path. And then second one, we call like a link up path. So link up path means here like we more practice wisdom part. So link up means this is kind of like to help you to jump into the, what you call the same path, third one. So that's why, Tibetan we call like jolam. So we can explain those later. Like there are 4 different level of link up path also. And then third one is the C path. So C path we call like C, right? C path. Here, this third, when you reach the third level, you see that kind of like direct perceive about emptiness nature. So that's why we call it like a C path. So that object of refuge, like paths start from here, C path, the meditation path, and then like the no more like a land path, we call like mulalam. So no more land path. These all are the paths. So 5 paths, right? Like 3 paths, right? Same path, meditation path, and then this no more like land path. No more land path. We call it malala. So when you generate the enlightenment, you are this path, in this path. So these 3 paths are the object of refuge, like Dhamma, special these 2. And then also, there's a cessation, like, when you reach the same path, you generate the kind of like, we call like Guden, cessation. So when you reach this same path, you generate the one cessation, not totally like enlightenment, but cessation. So that cessation, Chandrakati says, Dechen de Ngendi Lamna Tadang Gabaja, Dechen de Soso Jevi Sana Toje se, then Pava Jeva Chetate the Nyawat. Dechen de Ngendi Lamna Tadang Gabaja means when you reach the same path, you kind of see it, like you see it to burn in 3 lower realms. Like, the burn into 3 lower realms, animal realm, hungry ghost realm, and hell realms. When you reach the same path, you kind of like blocked to burn into the 3 lower realms. That's why Chandrakirti says, when you reach the sea path, this is the end of the ordinary person. When you reach the same path, we call it like a noble person. You become a noble person. So then so then there are like that 8 different noble, like a noble person. So this is the first one, the first like a noble person, like so that's why that you generate some kind of like a cessation that you never that the goal like 3 lower realms, and this is the end of. So that's why this the cessation and path to cessations are actual Dhamma, actual object of refuge. So that's the Dhamma. Then usually like this Buddha Shakyamuni's teaching textbook, all those are not actual Dharma, but those are kind of represent for Dhamma. Like Dhamma, Dhamma, you have to practice path to enlightenment, right? So all those texts, in this text, it shows, that all like, the kind of like, what you call that, instruction, like how to practice path to enlightenment, how to go through. So in a textbook, like all like, well, these all are kind of like instruction, like this instruct you, how to practice. So that's why kind of like a represent for Dhamma. So that's why even though those are not uh, actual like Dhamma, but we need to respect. We need to respect all those textbooks. So yeah, so admiration of. So that's the Dhamma. And then Sangha, So Sangha refers to the noble person who has received what is called Tibetan Buddhism as the singing path. There are 5 stages that needs to be completed to reach enlightenment. Okay, so Sangha, like a Sangha, that Sanjichi Gendun, like we Tibetan call it like a Gendun, in a Sanskrit, Sangha. Sangha means kind of like, actually, usually Sangha means like, that practice community, like, the persons, like who gathering, right? And uh, real, like object of refuge, we call it like a noble person. Noble person means like, that as I mentioned, like there's a 5 path, when you reach the same path, you become a noble person. And this same path, and like, the bodhisattva who already in, the same path, or like a meditation path, those are the object of refuge, like we usually call it Sangha. I think I mentioned here, there are 5 stages. Okay, so having to reach the individual considered noble bodhisattva and unto the bodhisattva liberate from the samsara. Okay, so for example, like Nagarjuna, Nagarjuna, Asanga, those masters, like, those masters are, the object of like refuge Sangha. So because those are already generated, that usually we call like that, what you call, Nagarjuna is the like a meditation path. So, the bodhisattva who are meditation path and same path, those are the object of refuge Sangha. And then in a Tibet society, like sometimes we call like there are some more than 4 monks or more than 4 nuns, we call it Sangha also. Like, those are not like a real Sangha, but, we believe like there's 4 like a gathering, I don't remember exact also, but English also like some like more gathering, there's some special wisdom, right? And we also believe like, they when like 4 monks or 4 nuns like gathering together, and then we respect as a Sangha. Because when you know that like 4 together, that one of them could be like a noble person, like kind of we believe in that. And then also like many ritual stuff, the special, like, that when you check the vow, there's many, things like minimum, you have to have 4 monks, like, that like when His Holiness Dalai Lama giving like a vow, like full audition vow, novice vow, there's like many, Kembo, Lope, Lela. So there's many different level, like, that those are like depend on like circumstances. If you're available like many monks, you have to have like 12, 20, this kind of stuff. At least 4 is the minimum, like that. So those are about the sangha. And so it's already 10:50. So we're going to stop here. So today I just explained about that, what is meant by the refuge, and then what is object of refuge. And then there's two causes for refuge, right? So next time, that I'm going to explain why these three are the object of refuge, and then why those are the capable, like, to help to liberate from the samsara. Okay, so if you have any question, please leave here. I will try to cover. Okay. Peter Goodman. Thank you, Geshe, for the essential understanding of the teaching. It is very helpful for me. You are welcome, Peter Goodman. And how can you tell where you are on the path? What's how can you tell where you are on the path and what stage? Um, I think it's your own experience. For example, like when you generate the bodhicitta, there are kind of like the sign, like the. So when you see the what you call that, like when you see the the suffering stuff, like automatically there's some kind of like a feeling, like it's kind of like goes up something. So there are few stuff, the sign, when you generate the bodhicitta. And then also when you like understand about the emptiness nature, like still there is some kind of like a sign, so I think that the practitioner individuals, that they can experience all those. And I remember many times His Holiness Dalai Lama, a few days ago, His Holiness Dalai Lama said, 50 years ago, one day he read some like a textbook, that he feel very, what you call that, he felt like all of a sudden he felt like, you know, uh, like it doesn't exist, like himself, like something he lost. He feel like, he said at that time, he said, I think he, that understood about the emptiness nature, like kind of like roughly we call like Tunya Rapa. And then later when he read the, the Nagarjuna's textbook, and he totally kind of understood about the emptiness nature. So at that time also, like he felt some kind of special. So those are the individual like who can, the practitioners, like they can. I am unclear. Are seeing path or meditation path are same? Okay, Mary. No, seeing path is third. There's a 5 path, right? First one is like an accumulation path. Second one is a link up path. So third one is a seeing path. Fourth one is meditation path. We call it, Tibetan call it Golam, which means a meditation path. And then fifth one is a no more land path. So seeing path is third and meditation path is fourth. So these two are different.
You're welcome. Okay, so thank you everyone, and Geshe Namgyal is here, and he's going to teach us how to do the like hand mudra. Okay, thank you.
Day, everyone. Good morning. And today we are going to learn hand mudra offering hand mudra, right? So last Sunday we did first and second. Today third and fourth. So third and fourth flowers and incense. So pipe dobe. Pipe means do that. Little is inside. Little bit this way. Pipe. Right? One by one. And inside, pipe. Pipe. You know? Pipe. And dobe. Yeah. Some master do that. Do that. Pinky and join, and then thumbs here and double. Some master do that. Think just can you say? Can you can do whatever you want. You can do whatever you are. Want. Yeah. You want. Okay. Do this way. Right. 3. And you can do that. Dupe. Dupe. Right. Dupe. Or dupe. Dupe. And lotus mudra. Lotus mudra. First this way, right? Then snap and right hand go off, over, right? And left hand comes right hand. One. Send. 2, 3. Oh, right hand, the thumbs inside. Go just upside, right? Upside. Go upside and turn left hand and right hand come up. 1. This way. 2, 3, and agam or padam. You until you want. Go left hand. Right. right hand. And this is Kaligavana. 1, 2, 3, Agam, 1, 2, 3. Oh, yeah. Now we record to Gishla Esperanto for Vajra feast. Thank you, Gishla. Thank you. Kasang de nganzu de kasang de doji kazi siya de siya de ta doji kazi karo hiedong kare ma doji kazi jibodo seme sidong doji kazi kiye chimbolo ko de ti shaji dama shaji shi jijera jide goma to sola shato chese ne choga cheba jibare sir shato chese ne shani choga jero jide goma ni de ta shaji de shiji ni de shi sheban zo digo bara
도도나 티셔서 내용 건서 맞다. 쳤어요.
jide goma la ro shato cheba ina de jinku choga cheba jibare sir choga era choga de cheba kanse na shi nong na ju de shi sheba ni no ne shi sheba zo zo sa dirwa dan shato cheso na de chendo dagni ka zum 개침불에 써야 돼. 시동셔도로 써야 있어. 디네 도지 커서 디는 되는거라.
말래.
The Geshe Namgyal said, the last time he explained a little bit about the hand mudra, and somebody asked, why the Vajra fist is very important. So actually, Geshe Namgyal didn't mean like only Vajra fist is very important. He said he tried to explain like all hand gestures are important, because that that action tantric, like a point of view, if you miss the that some kind of one hand gesture, is kind of same like you miss the one part of the the sadhana, like there's no that is kind of big deal, because if you miss a part of the sadhana, it's not like a complete your practice, right? And also same, if you miss one part of the hand gesture, like a mudra, and then it's the same, like you miss the kind of part of practice. So that's why, that action tantric point of view, hand gestures and like these mudras are very important.
지도 구말 제나 제나 시기로. 지도 구말은 저도 제나
The action tantric,
right?
and then they that there are true like lower tantric practice and then higher tantric practice. So these are like based on lower tantric point of view. The higher tantric point of view is not that much big deal. So that's why that the action tantric practice or lower tantric practice, those are very important. So the Geshe is showing the the Vajra fist.
Vajra fist
So the true Vajra fist, one is like that what you call that, like that one is lower and one is the top, like so these two put together.
톡 차지로 송중세도 이치만 하지. 공디가 안에 뚜미 히로치 되는 참고레스.
So this Vajra fist, like a lower one, is represent for a method part, and this the top Vajra fist is represent for wisdom part. And when you put these two together, which represent like union of method and wisdom. And the general speak, all tantric practice, you have to have union union method and wisdom.
그동 가르스나 아니 먼저디 다 뭐냐네 지에 조부 송지 토야 지. 된 조부 송지 토야 되고 저 송지가 저 지스네 맞이네 간스나 그 조부 레기에도 가르스나 먼저 지지 송지 조부 송지 지도 멤버지. 선진 통지 동아 희우 나데 대머제니 다 뜻들이 지 가신 통면서 소소 지니 지 이름 보고 되나 아니 되게 선제 동아서 뜻었지.
Okay, the Geshe said, that this union practice, union practice is a very important, like in a tantric practice, because tantric practice is a kind of like shortcut to generate enlightenment, and to do through the shortcut, like to generate enlightenment is not to liberate from samsara your individual like benefit. You generate enlightenment for all sentient being. So to generate like that to liberate from the samsara, or to generate enlightenment for all sentient being, for all sentient being you have to have bodhicitta mind. So that's why method part is very important.
조간들이 동들이 받았는데 도지 커서 그러니 들이 예시지 센터나 야보야스로 센터지 때문에 저런데 뭐 어떤 정신이 뭐 먹을 좀 어떻지는 지 성지도야 파시오 비슷하던 시야 로지든데 뭐야스 시행인가 야스.
And the Geshe said, like whenever you the practice tantra, or whenever you recite the some mantra, like when you do the hand gesture this, and then you have to like kind of visualize these two are the represent like for method and wisdom, and you should think like that way. Otherwise just like randomly recite mantra stuff, those are kind of little bit dangerous. There he said there's many story about that, like some like somebody like the Rita, like which means like the ghost, like that without like based on the bodhicitta mind, like practice it could be to born in the ghost.
단들이서 손주치니 드니 봐라 손에 띵고네 통신이 야마를 토니 드니 저도 제발 피난다 가르치는 조사에 제발 피난다 드니 기존으로 걸리 가르두나 다 뒤토니 봐 드니 토시 삼 야마를 하지는 빼마스 야버린 거리스 또 제대나 드리나 이랬어.
And that said, like when you do that, this Vajra feast is like that union for like what you call the union merit and wisdom, and then everything like you have to do based on that basis, like the union, this wisdom, and what you call that the merit part, and then practice all tantric stuff.
Thank you. Thank you, Geshe.
You're welcome.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
Okay, so have a good weekend.